Uh, we're just jumping right into it because this is not over. It's not over. Holy shit. This is crazy.
Hey. Even so. Hey. Thank you. That's... no. Hey. That's why.
What do you want to do? Say that.
Come now. Of course. And so. Well, this.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, they're just kind of recapping everything we did. Pretty sure that if you don't get max rank, you miss out on this stuff, too.
Oh. Just.
Right.
True. However.
Now that you met...
Yes. We shall.
Yo! Hey! But... yeah. Thank you.
For Vinka and Dell. Lady Jaina.
My kid.
I love her hat, man. That is so dope.
My king.
In that case...
Gosh. Well. So, speaking of which,
Now we're talking.
yeah. Hey, hey. Magic.
Orella.
I did. Greetings.
Well...
Yes, of course. In truth, alas. The reason is, now that you mention it. Very well. I do believe, because...
But. Aha!
About that.
Or perhaps. Indeed. That, however.
Yeah, they got a lot of followers.
Hi there.
Hold on.
See you soon.
Hey. Yes. Now that you mention. Thank you.
Lovely, that.
That's something.
So,
Good to see you. Then again, brilliant.
Lovely, that.
And finally, Brigida, man, full circle moment here, dude. That was like the first follower. Well, yeah, kind of, right, technically.
Say,
but
yet. Speaking of.
all right then.
Let's go.
Oh-ho. Yeah.
I wonder how many of these dudes are scattered all around the stuff, but I'm just not gonna find them. I just don't really care like that. It's really neat though if you take your time though and you kind of like just sift through and try to find everybody that meant anything in this game. Ugh.
Grand, innit?
So, that reminds me.
But
Oh. Oh, right. I should call you Your Majesty. You know, I was just telling Papa, even through all that mess, everyone's really been working hard.
am I keeping my promise properly from back then?
Yes, you beat the villain, and now the city's full of smiles. And I'm sure Papa's smiling down on you too.
That's good. Hearing that from you really lifts my heart.
Don't worry. I'll try to do my part with what I've got. I want to help everyone understand that the world could be a better place if we can join hands with one another. Miss Fabian's fed so many hungry people since things changed. Some of those people even said they found their place there. I think I did too. If we can all change together for the better like that, we'll be closer to Your Majesty's and Papa's dream. And I want to help with something too. I want everyone across the land to be able to smile.
Yeah, I'm counting on you.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Majesty. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty.
We should be the ones thanking her. Feels like I can see the entire country's future in her smile.
Everyone!
Long time no see. How have you been?
As we find ourselves afield, I thought I might visit Alsace myself.
Hold on a tick. Those people there. Surely not.
Naturally, we're drawing attention. We didn't all have to go at once. Needn't fuss, old thing. It's been too long since we were all together again anyway.
Lady Tuna, did she really come all this way in a runner? Would have asked His Majesty to pop over and bring you back with a teleport or two.
The unmitigated nerve.
Oh, it's fine. I wanted to take in our country as it is. It's definitely a little rougher outside the capital's walls. There's still traces of melancholia around, and the odd human roaming about.
We're sending soldiers out for every incident we can. But it's not easy to hear the voice of the people from more distant regions.
I guess it's obvious. But just because you're king now doesn't make you suddenly all-seeing.
A lesson I learned last year. In the end, I was blind to a great deal of this world. Never would have learned if I hadn't pushed out the door and seen it with my own eyes.
A year ago, I would have just said we could fly over ourselves. I mean, let's be real. The capital isn't going to fall apart if we just sneak over for a little tour, is it?
Of course not. We specifically put precautions in place to keep things running.
Yet it has only been 1 year. We cannot be too complacent too soon, lest the dissidents seize on the opportunity.
Oh, there he is! Over there! See? I told you, that's His Majesty, innit?
Might have been a bit too obvious.
Oi there, Your Majesty!
You dare hoy the king, you swine!
Steady on, Hulkenberg, calm. You needn't draw steel on the poor fellow. We're the ones who indulged in this little day trip.
Your Majesty, thanks for all you do, really. Have to say, my life's a lot easier now.
There's more work to do every day. But we're in this together. We believe in you.
Everyone's so supportive. Kind of brings back memories from last year.
Rather. It's the sort of thing to get a chap all misty-eyed over the past. What a journey it was.
Looks like we're drawing a crowd. Time to get back to work.
Indeed. A veritable mountain of tasks awaits us, and I will see it crested.
And not long after, the new year dawned.
I knew there was an octopus.
A journey? Are you really planning on leaving us?
There's more I have to see. With my own eyes.
You want to know what's going on in the world, huh? Well, I guess you are the king.
Sounds like fun, but a daily jaunt down to the slums is one thing, and a proper journey is quite another. You're a king now, lad. You've got the people's expectations on your shoulders. It's all right to just sit on your throne and mind the home front, you know?
I want to do what I can for the people. If that's not kingly, then the crown's just slowing me down.
Come on, this is no time for jokes.
Ever the fearless gadabout, eh? Well, I take your point back. Magler and the humans make a fine barometer for the anxiety still swirling in the country. So you go out and give it a proper survey, where it is and how much is there. If people can't face their anxieties, they can't keep their eyes forward. And if they can't do that, we'll have a bally hard time moving forward as a nation or a people. So you want to get a better grasp of it all. That's your most important duty as a ruler. That's what you're thinking, eh?
Right.
If that was your plan, you could have just said so.
Sounds like a fine idea to me. A proper spot of fun, besides. Wouldn't expect any less from our king and captain. Well, since I'm the bally court engineer, I've no choice but to come along. I'm the only driver fit to maneuver the Royal Skyrunner after all. Yes, Here begins our quest anew. Let us sally forth upon our... hello? Are you not listening to me?
Sire, you've really got to stop chasing these ideas all on your own. You'll be the death of us.
Once again, sire, I've asked you countless times to give word if you're to leave the castle. Such caprice.
Nurse, don't tell me you called for them beforehand.
Saved us a bit of time, eh? Though, hello, what's this? I count only 2 of the 6 partisans. Short a few spears.
For my part, I believe 'tis unrealistic for all of us to depart the capital together.
Oh, so you have no plans to stop our little adventure, eh?
Hulkenberg and I talked it over. We decided that if you insist on going, we'd rather go with you than stop you.
Are you sure about this?
I was thinking back to our last fight with Louis. So many people supported us, but not for any high-minded ideals or arguments.
They were supporting us because we were actively fighting a monster on their behalf. In the end, people make choices based on their personal experience and emotion. Even if decided justly and supported by prosperity, people may struggle to trust a king whose face they do not know. An invisible ruler is no cure for their fears.
Right. I'm not opposed to the idea of getting out into the world again. Really, it might be the wisest move to make sure you're a king everyone knows.
Still, this early into the new year? 'Tis never a dull moment in your Majesty's employ.
Bit of a smaller party than we last set out with, huh? But it's a pleasure to be on the road again with you.
Okay, but can we really afford to have both our general and the Royal Guard's captain coming along for this?
'Tis natural course for the Royal Guard to accompany the king. And I trust my corps is not so feeble that it will fall apart in my absence.
We'll make it work. Got to learn to trust others and delegate, right? We'll just have to lead by example.
Thank you.
You once heard my voice and answered a query in kind. Is fantasy a powerless creation? A timeless question. So long as life remains in the world, we seekers all shall search for our answer. But he will find his. Of that I am certain. And it is thanks to you for believing in and guiding him. That was the true purpose of my royal magic, you know. To seek and obtain guidance from denizens of a land beyond ours. A land that has not yet lost hope. And it was you who answered the call. Armed with your hope, armed with the power of fantasy, you rose in glory. Such courage, such whimsy, and yes, what thrill. You have my sincerest thanks.
Feels familiar. It's been far too long.
Aye, the wind feels an echo of days past.
Unusually poetic for you.
Let's fucking go, dude.
They would have left us behind.
Well, I'm not certain we're in a position to talk, having followed straight after, saying we could just teleport back.
Well, hey, we figured the kids might want to change your scenery, like.
Wow! Amazing!
Poetic indeed. That the scepter's absence restored order to Magla, and even greenery to the sands.
I'll say, I definitely like this view better.
Let's go.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. So the end. I am I'm just fucking impressed with all of it. I mean, this game was amazing. It was amazing. I am not new to the world of JRPGs. I've been playing them for a long time, like childhood. Set to be 33 this year. Obviously, I wasn't around for like the very initial wave of JRPGs, such as like the old Famicom and all that Final Fantasy games, and you know, anything that pretty much involves that era. I picked it up in the 90s. So my first RPG or JRPG ever was Final Fantasy VIII, right? It's just my dad got a PlayStation, and then we only had like a few games. You know, there was like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, this and that, but then I had one game, Final Fantasy VIII, and that's what I played. It was a game that I could never beat for a long time. And then, because I would always replay it, and I would replay it, trying to figure out what I did wrong with it, right? Just truly not understanding the concept of what JRPGing is. And, you know, missing stuff, you know, all the stuff that you probably needed to have guides for or whatever. You know, obviously we didn't have like a huge thing about the internet yet, and the guides that we have today that are very easily accessible just did not exist back then. So why I'm so entranced and captivated by these fairy tale adventures is because like they do put a lot of stress on your mind. It's a very brain powered game. A lot of people think that JRPGs are very mindless, like it's just like, oh, okay, you're turn by turn, or you know, you do this and that, and it just kind of works. You just kind of spam buttons, and then yeah. And in a lot of cases there are some that are like that. But Metaphor, obviously being like, if you want to call it like a sixth entry of a mainline Atlas game, you know, me being naive because obviously I don't know much about Atlas, not as deep into them as I am into the Square Enix side of things, you know. And seeing the world that they built with Metaphor Refantazio is, it borrows on a lot of traditional things that we've seen before in JRPGs. You know, you have your megalomaniac, crazy ass villain. You know, you got a hero who, uncertain destiny. And all that kind of stuff. So it's just, you know, very, very hard to put into words what this game is. It's very creative, like obviously very creative. I just read something on my X as well, right? Like the Twitter pages or whatever, and it said that like the creative director actually got like awarded by the Japanese government for like the art direction that this game is. And I don't really know a lot about how that stuff works or what it even really entails, but all I can say is that any award that this game gets is very deserving because it is very, very good, right? And like I say, and what I'm trying to say is like, yes, it does borrow on a lot of traditional JRPG elements as far as like, you know, and especially in the turn-by-turn basis. You find a weakness, and then all you're trying to do is spam that weakness over and over again, get as many turns as you can, prevent the enemies from getting their turns in so that you have longer survivability while you're doing your battles and stuff like that, you know? So it's pretty cut, simple, and dry. You take all of that and you take it all the way till the end game, you know? And then there's at times where they restrict you, and then you have to figure out a workaround for that, change up your strategy. Like every dungeon had a new strategy. And like, there wasn't like one singular way to play this game because of how many different archetypes that you could have had. And basically all the archetypes were in this game were just jobs. You know, if you ever played Final Fantasy 3 or 5 or any games that had anything like this, it was basically the job system. And every single character could turn into whatever you wanted. I mean, you could win it, you could have gone into battles, and I'm sure I'm going to see videos of like 4 priests, 4 clerics or whatever, and defeating Luis on hard mode or some shit like that, And it's those kinds of challenge runs that just make you like feel like, yeah, there is a level of like insanity when it comes to how you can plan out your stuff. And if I gave this game like a true tried and true effort into learning its mechanics and developing like strategies for everything, I mean, this game would definitely have had been playing offline for me, because there's just no way that I could have done the videos that I've done and get the story element in it in an ample amount of time. Like, we would have flooded probably well over 120 videos just to get this game across, because some of the battles were made easier, some of the dungeons were made easier because I was able to kind of hack and slash my way through them, and I didn't have to spend like the extra 30 minutes a dungeon just by doing the battle sequences and running around with, going back and forth to dungeons to replenish my MP and stuff like that, right? Now, at the very beginning of the game, I was questioning a lot of things, right? Talking about, like, what is this character? We at the beginning, our character was just a messenger. He goes over to deliver the message with the fairy saying, like, hey, now's the time to do it. We got to kill Count Luis, the murderer of the prince. Okay? Or, the cursor of the prince, whatever you want to call it. So we say, okay, we do that. And then we try to enact the plan. Obviously, nobody saw the giant king's face going up into the sky and all that kind of stuff happening, and a whole bunch of weird shit to follow suit. Golden chains restricting Grius from doing the deed, and Grius gets his throat cut in the middle of everybody. Then what ensues after that is just this giant journey that, it's in a form of a tournament, so all these different people from all different races in this game are vying for a chance to become the ruler of the entire world of Uchronia, And very simple, right? Very simple formula, just popularity vote. It got very political, there's a lot of political shit that happened in this game, and I'm really glad that kind of like set this one apart, because a lot of the other ones, a lot of the JRPGs are kind of like a love story for most people, and there wasn't like a single hint of like love story in this game at all. Like, there was like a little bit of flirtatiousness between Yufa and our guy, but that was about it, and that's about as far as they took it. So a lot of JRPGs though, like 9 had Zidane and Garnet, right? 8 has Renault and Squall. 7 is it's just a mess. But obviously it's, Tifa and Cloud, but it's not too much reliant on the love story part of it all, which is good. And, JRPGs like that need to come and be a thing. Final Fantasy X with Yuna and Titus, like that was, obviously that's a love story too. So, the Final Fantasy genre is obviously known for its like love titles, and the motivation between like, I gotta love, protect the love of my life type thing. And from what I see, Metaphor was not like that at all. It was the idea of like a political race, First one to do all this stuff becomes the king of the world. Boom, done and over with, right? Well, then obviously things got really weird. Traveling town to town, figuring out everybody's problems, trying to basically just be the chosen one and just figure everything out. Taking on odd jobs, going to dungeons, destroying things, this and that. The game had a lot of fetch quests. I don't really know how well that plays into a lot of things, because I think at this stage, I'm not really down for like side quests that kind of just make you go get stuff and then bring it back. Like, that's old school. That's like old school JRPG shit, or just games in general that make you do that kind of stuff. We'll let this one play out.
Dear guest, from a world I shall never know. In your eyes, I know our journey was ultimately a fiction. However, I hope your memories of this fantastical adventure burn as bright in your reality. I hope the promise of our world echoes in you with all my heart. I hope that fantasy gives you strength.
Damn, we're still going?
Look at that. The rubble's just bait for tourists now.
I never expected a view like this.
Let's see it all. Let's see the world.
Yeah.
A new journey now beckons. In days of eld, the people prospered and perished in turn. Struck by their ways, I wrote a book of my dearest ideals. A tale of fantasy. In my vision, they placed their trust, and so the kingdom breathed new life.
The strength to believe in the unknown, that can change everything. Without a doubt, you will face all sorts of trials ahead. But carry onward with all your heart. Onward, fearless, into a world unknown.
That's a nice little title screen too, because this indicates that they might continue on with this franchise, you know, being that there's like 5 Persona games or however many really in actuality, but I just know 5, right? I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Metaphor seems like the next biggest thing that they can continue to thrive off of in the world and everything. Coronation of the King trophy brought about true peace. By saving your clear data, certain things can transfer over to a new game. You can transfer currently owned items, with some exceptions. Money, mag, royal virtues, scanned enemies, memorandum, and archetype statues, statuses, and total pleasure. Yep. That'll go good there. So we see from the time that I decided to make the change from normal to storyteller was 20 hours into the game at level 18, and then we finished the game at 77 hours and 48 minutes. Putting me to a grand total of 77 videos, so obviously some of that was AFK time right away from keyboard. Yeah, it seems like if I load that, then it goes straight over the clear data. Turn down the music a little bit because this gets loud. Just finish my thoughts. So, yeah, recapping the story, you know, and then everything got really weird. We started traveling to all these different towns and, you know, started figuring out everybody's issues and stuff like that. I personally want to say that I think that Mertira and the stuff in Altaberry Heights was probably like my pinnacle, like my S tier level of storytelling for the game itself. Everything else was kind of like, the beginning was a little bit of the build-up, right? They had to get us interested in it, you know, kind of figure out like, okay, what is Luis's thing? You know, who is this dude? Why is he acting the way he's acting? Whatever, blah, 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 right? And they did a very good job at making him feel like he was the dude. You know, like he is going to be your mage, or he's going to be your problem. You know, he's your Sephiroth of this game. He's your Ultima of this game. You know, he's just your big baddie that you got to figure out what his motivation is. And then we're going to come into contact and clash with this guy. So there's the way that they presented Luis was they gave him like, you know, basically a fucking Darth Vader soundtrack, right? Like every time he was on screen, he was menacing, he was imposing, and you just knew that he had just that energy, right? Now Luis as a villain is not something that we haven't seen before. You know, he's he monologues a lot, like a lot of villains do in JRPGs, because we need to understand them from a certain perspective, and what better perspective to understand them than their own. And then we found out a lot of things, that he wasn't responsible for this prince's death or whatever. There's like I have to recap the entire story, but it'll be impossible to do that. I don't think I'm able to kind of I am, because like I paid attention to the story enough to, like, I know what's going on, but to recap it in like 40 minutes is just not going to do this justice at all. So just to highlight the points of, this game was full of twist, like twist upon twist. Major story beat was obviously, the whole time the clock is rolling on us, like we had this picture of the prince, and he was wrapped up in the thorns and all this kind of stuff. And then you do the missions, things start coming into clarity. And then you go to Altaberry Heights, and then you have your big moment, your big clash with Luis. He's like, nope, I didn't do it. Boom. You find out the truth. You find out that it's Rella, the Sanctix Church's, little priestess, their saint. And then, who is Juna's sister. All these different characters start joining your squad. Oh my God, and it was just so beautifully crafted and put together that this is a game that is going to last in my memory. Like, the only reason why I would even ever come back to this game in my off time is to finish those super boss dragons that I did not do. Mostly because I did not want, like, to me, it feels like, since I turned the game down to storyteller just because I wanted to get the story out there, and then, give the game more, like, here, look at it, this is how it runs, this is how it plays, it's very good. I didn't want to do it injustice by playing the super bosses on storyteller, because all you do is when you die, you just pop right back up. And I think I had like 2 or 3 instances where I actually like popped a game over, and then I just said, okay, fuck it, revive, and then just play it out. And that's mostly due to because of tactical error or whatever. And I didn't really put no brain power into the archetypes. I just put whatever I felt at the time needed to be upgraded, and then I just let the characters do their thing, right? Without ever really realistically looking at a dungeon and being like, oh, okay, I need to like have 2 mages and 2 knights, or a seeker, a mage, and a knight, and something else. And that's not like my personal play style. I will take my time. I will sit there and I will grind things out, just so that I'm at a level that's passable and I'm not struggling too much, because sometimes good strategy can overcome that. But if there's a chance where it's just like, okay, if I spend like 20, 30 minutes extra just to kind of like slap around some enemies just to gain levels that I need, then whatever. It's no chip off my shoulder. I can do that. But showing that grind is very boring in these games, and not a lot of people like that stuff. And that's what gives these games discredit sometimes. But just to get the story out there in case somebody wants to see, like, oh, this is how this game works. Like, this is how it is. Maybe I want to like get a feel for it. Then you get my general thoughts and stuff like that, and you see just a normal guy that plays it, right? Boom, done and over with. So story, I'm gonna have to put it up there with like probably among the best of all time, right? This is just coming like just recently though, because I just finished it, right? Like I'm at my super hypest moment with the game right now. I'm gonna sit down and relax a little bit, kind of detox from it, play some Monster Hunter, and then I'm gonna feel that itch, that need to go back to Metaphor, because I've just been playing it for like the last 2-3 weeks, and it's been on my mind, it's stuck on my mind. I'm always thinking about, okay, well, I need to do this, and that, and it is what it is though. So, but I have to move on from it, and one day I will. One day I'll jump back on and I'll do it all over again. So, but I mean, this game, it's heavy, right? Almost 80 hours worth of content, almost 80 hours, and it would have been 80 had I gone for those other 3 dragons. I've been 80 plus. So if you're really looking to get your money's worth, I mean, we did We pretty much did every single side quest, every single hunt, everything. Until I look at the trophy list and see that I missed something. I even did the Brilhaven Arena, and I'm just saying, like, there's a lot. There's a lot of things in this game. And maybe the New Game Plus is probably where you, like, want to make your money at and kind of redo the game and, you know, do all that, whatever. If that's how they do it in this one to get your platinum, then fine, do it. But obviously it's all very achievable just by normal playthrough. I mean, I probably could have put this on easy and we would have had no issues either way, but again, I wasn't trying to sit there and, you know, like, put everyone through this grind of like, okay, I'm going to strategize this, and that, and, you know, because there's going to be plenty of videos out there where it's like, okay, you're struggling with fighting this human, then go ahead and just go watch a video real quick, get your setup, and then boom. Because the game is pretty handholdy as it is. Like, some of the missions literally told you what they recommended for your archetypes, and sometimes they would include like up to 3. They'd be like, okay, for this you want a thief, gunner, and berserker, and you're like, okay. So you just get that, and that. You get their upgraded versions, take them into a fight, and then you have a better chance of survival. You know. Now, me and my playstyle, I would buff, I would debuff, right? I like buffing my characters, I like debuffing the enemies, and then I like attacking weaknesses, right? Because that's like the easiest ways to kind of survive in these types of games. And I do like a way to kind of replenish my MP, though, which is a huge issue with this game. I didn't really discover a good way to kind of get any of the Magla pills because the regular shops don't sell them. And if there was a case where, like, I think one of like the very first towns sold like a certain stock of them, like about 8 of them or something like that. If they made like a point where like every 3 days or something that a town would replenish its stock, then you could probably play with that as far as strategy goes. But they never did. And the only time that I saw Magla pills ever drop were when I fought butterflies. So obviously endgame status 20 MP recovery isn't going to be good for someone who's like in the 800s, which is like kind of where our characters were mostly sitting at. And I had to use like the full MP recovery, and you barely get any of those. So the game is not good about, and every single action you do, minus the regular attack, everything costs MP. So I don't know if there's like a general strategy of like use just the lower MP moves, and that's how you survive the bigger dungeons, and you just kind of like have to let everybody kind of use one. You know, that's kind of where my mind was going. Like, okay, if I'm going to actually make it through this dungeon on normal, I'm going to have to use weaker moves just to survive and then take a couple of rounds of hits and stuff and then just fully cure my people. So that kind of stuff too was also what turned me off from doing the normal stuff, because I'm like, dude, we're gonna have to spend like 2 or 3 days in most dungeons just to replenish MP, because the Magla Hollows were completely fucking useless. Like, if the Magla Hollows, or if there was like a way to like kind of replenish yourself, like use a tent, right? Like, or something like that. Like midway through the dungeon, and then they'd be like, okay, do you want to like eat, like use this kitchen to eat food or whatever? And it's like, yeah, okay, cool, boom. As long as you have like a crafting system, then you can make stuff and then make me, you know, replenish it. I think that would have been a lot better of an approach, rather than just going in there and being like, oh, make a save, or do you want to leave? Oh yeah, and then this is a checkpoint now. I'm like, it's not really, you know, it wasn't really that great. And then when you do get a chance to replenish your MP, your main hero had to be like a mage, but you would only replenish like 1 MP if you were able to destroy them in the overworld combat stuff. And I wasn't really liking that stuff too much, so I was like, okay, this is just going to be a grind fest, so whatever, let's just bump it down and call it a day. But I mean, overall, I had a lot of fun with this game. There were a couple moments where I was kind of like not feeling it. And, you know, mostly because like I felt like there was a lot of time-wasty sections of this game. And especially when it came down to the cookie-cutter, copy-paste dungeons and enemies. Because the enemy varieties at the end of dungeons were kind of trash. Like, it would always be like a Minotaur, which they call a Guptaros. It would be a human, like weird ass creature, or they loved, I don't know why, but the combat director loved the birds. Like anything avian creature, like they were all over this fucking game. Like the butterflies, you know, Corvian knights, and I mean, it was just all over. It was just bird central with this game, and I'm not really sure if that's like some lore thing with it, but yeah, a lot of the enemies were winged creatures, so that was very interesting. Not a lot of humanoid enemies to speak of. So it's your classic like medieval, you know, they had like slimes and minotaurs and chimeras and all sorts of shit like that. I mean, we had like a scorpion, lion. It was pretty cool. I mean, it was when it lasted, you know. In the first like couple of videos, I was playing it normally through, and I was like, okay, this is pretty fun. But it was just time to move on and, you know, get the game over with, so we could get to this point now where it's over and done with. But yeah, character. I mean, there wasn't a single character in my main party that I did not like. They were all fantastic. The voice acting was superior in my mind. I felt the characters, especially in the moments where like things were getting like kind of really bad. The way that those people delivered their lines was incredible. Like, because a lot of the older JRPGs, they don't put voice acting, and the ones that do have voice acting, if you feel it because you're reading something, and sometimes they just skip past it. Like the sections where they kind of made me read stuff, I was like, okay, I'll read this later in editing or whatever, and I was like, bang, 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 just get rid of this shit, or I just wouldn't even read it anyway because I kind of knew where the story was going with it, and yeah, so I didn't really care too much about that stuff, but the way that they delivered the lines, I mean, Luis's voice actor, God tier, right? I actually like felt the menace. Like he was such a menace. Our character was very shy and laid back, but at the same time, he adapted and became a hero. You know, he became what he is. Stroll was just a nobleman. You know, Hulkenberg, her lady actress, good job. Like, it must be really hard to talk like Old English style and stuff like that, especially like medieval era. And those lines were delivered perfectly. Everybody, top to bottom. I mean, and Heisme is my favorite character in the entire game. Like, he was so good. Just, you wouldn't think, you know, this is the shortest thing. He's just a little bat guy, and he's like the, you know, the aged veteran that just kind of had all this wisdom stuck up in his head, and it was just really nice to kind of see it on display at times. Some of the later editions, Juna, Yufa, and Basilio, they were really good too. I didn't really have a whole need for them kind of like late game though, because I kind of wanted to go back to my main party. That's just how I do things. I always go back to like what the beginning characters were, because I kind of feel like it was their story to begin with. And you know, you spent a lot of time with them before the other ones came in anyway. So, you know, aside from Juna, I think Juna was like a pretty good candidate to kind of get swapped in and out. But Yufa and Basilio for sure were kind of the two that were left on the back burner, because we had picked them up so late in the game that I was like, yeah, you guys are falling behind. Even though you have some really cool archetypes you come with, it's just kind of like, I'll get to you when I get to you type situation. And then obviously I didn't need to really play with that, because I just ran with like the same archetypes for the majority of the game and just kind of spammed, because I was in no danger of ever losing. Which is a discredit, right? Because obviously on a normal playthrough, you're gonna have to sift through all your characters. They really want you to make use of the switch your allies in and out of battle thing, because you need that. You know, and I can see how deep this is a very deep strategy game. Do not get me wrong, this game can really mess with your mind, because you'll go into a dungeon and you probably need like 5 berserkers. Like, I'm not even playing with you. You're gonna need those kinds of numbers, because some of these enemies are just tanky as hell, and you have to find a way to like maximize your MP usage. There's a lot of items that kind of help you gain your stuff back. So there's a lot of different ways. You know, if I really deep down dive into this game and really look at the accessories go to the shops and really upgrade my characters, I'm sure that it would have been a completely different experience from the one that we just did on Storyteller. And with Storyteller, that's all it was. It was just going to tell the damn story. So we got the story out of the way. I'm extremely excited and happy that this game is over. Because it ended in such a good way, right? Like nobody died. Nobody else died. Grius was the only one that took the biggest L of our main party, but that was so early in the game that his memory was just kind of carrying on. And everybody, and the thing about it is that they kept making references to it. Like 70 hours into the game, they were like, "We made Grius proud." Like that is so good. Like don't ever forget the characters that got you there. And that's something that is so lost to me in games nowadays, where it's like, how did you forget this one character that like even started this whole adventure? And then they become like a backlog and you're like, oh yeah, that guy, I forgot he even existed. You should never say that about characters that kind of like were with you for a pretty substantial part of the game, especially in the early game, and then don't mean anything in the end, And a lot of the relevancy came from his daughter and everything, doing the missions with her and her keeping her papa's memory alive and stuff like that. Everything was just fantastic. The follower bonds were great. Some characters like Alonzo were kind of like, I didn't really care. Barden, I didn't really care anymore. I was like, okay, you guys had like your piece or whatever, so I was like, go away. But then they made him like full term just to kind of add hours to the game. I was like, whatever. But some of the other characters were kind of fantastic, right? And I felt the same way about Katharina too, because I was like, you're kind of dragging this on a little bit. I think they could have reduced like maybe 4 followers. The party members being followers, obviously that's a need because we got so much story development. Some of their stories weren't that great. Like Juna's was kind of stupid. I didn't really like the whole singing thing. I don't know if I wasn't really just paying attention or others understood the message behind it. But it was like a lot of jealousy and stuff like that, so I'm not really into that kind of drama shit. So I just kind of neglected it, and I was like, okay, I don't really care. But the stuff with like Heisme and his son, that fucking hurts, right? That one, like, you have kids, and you just like, yeah, you don't ever want to be put in this situation. So, damn, man, there's just too much to cover. And I don't want to like start a whole nother video just to talk about it, but this game was obviously very fantastic. I hope that it gets a lot of nominations at the end of the year. I'm just so scared that the fact that America just does not have any respect for the JRPG genre. And these games only exist in Japan for the most part, right? It's a broader audience, and that's basically who they're made for. I'm glad that they made this and it's over here. I hope a lot of people jump into this as like a late runner or something like that. Like, okay, I saw this come out early in the year. Let me just play it now that everything else is out of the way, right? Is it going to contend with Monster Hunter Wilds? Probably not. It should for sure definitely beat Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows that's coming out here soon. But, this game is going to definitely be in contention for, I would hope, Game of the Year. I don't think it'll win it. Because like I said, I think this game borrows a lot of ideas from other JRPGs. And being that it's kind of coming from the Persona series itself, it's not a spectacle. It's not something that we haven't seen before. So that's going to do it a little bit of injustice. But, at the end of the day, this is a brand new story. The take on everything that they wanted to do here, I loved it. The political messages that they actually delivered were so well written that even like a person like me who's not really into politics, like I still understood and felt what it was for the normal people, like thinking about like, holy shit, all these people could be our kings, but we only want this one, or this one makes a good claim, so I don't know what side to take. And that was pretty dope. I really like how they did that. The creative design for the monsters, especially the humans, was, oh my god tier. I am really, really into like weird, distorted, fucked up looking creatures and stuff like that because, obviously I got most of the Resident Evil games on, my channel. I play Dark Souls, I do Bloodborne. I'm just into that kind of stuff. Like, I have like when I think about things, I think about like these creations too in my head, and I don't have the artistic hand to draw what I think of, but I have an artistic way of like writing them out, and to see like how they did that. These are things that I would think about too, like these fucked up flesh ripped off, like really just strange looking monsters, and I love how they kind of went into the lore about what they are, who they are, and they're just humans. They're everybody, but they're just twisted, And we saw it there in the end with Luis turning himself into a human and how fucked up he looked. And I really enjoyed that they pretty much went with they went with Lucifer, and then they went to like an angel with him, So we knew that he was going to turn into a god, right? That's just another one of those borrowed elements. It is what it is, right? They weren't going to keep him as a regular guy. We fought him like 5 times in this game or something like that. So yeah, we had all the regular Luises out of the way. So we were like, yeah, now you have to start kind of looking fucked up, and he did. You got 3 faces. You're eating people, and then you're turning into an angel with all sorts of like an actual Bible depiction of what angels look like. That is so fucking cool, The whole story and the plot behind the assassination, that was pretty dope too. Like I said, the twists in this game were very well hidden, and I really liked the revelations when we got to them were very impactful. I did get sad like a few times throughout the game, because I was like, damn, Rella, dude, like I didn't like that, like that was pretty fucked up that the church provoked a 12-year-old girl to kill a prince because they were going to kill her sister. Like, that's why, but it's reality. I mean, there's a lot of like political things that they put into this game that kind of happened in the real world, and it was just so well written. And shout out to the creative director. He deserves the reward and the recognition that he got from his own Japanese government, because this game is really good. I'm very sad to say that in America it's not going to follow through though, because I just don't know why people can't like move on from the other stuff. Like, just give these games a try. They're good, Maybe a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm grown and I don't care about no fantasy baby games." And it's like, yeah, I get that, but give this one a shot, because this one's really good. Probably right up to right now, my favorite new game of the year. Obviously, I'm still doing like a lot of different things throughout the year, but so far the newest game that I've played, this one is definitely taking the cake. Avowed took a definite back seat, just so I could finish out this game. So now I'm going to jump back over to Avowed, and then Monster Hunter Wilds. And every now and again, I'll kind of make a dive into the other games on my channel that need to be finished, like Bloodborne and Dark Souls and stuff like that. But now it's time to be a little bit off the camera, have a little bit of fun, because I've been so heavy trying to finish this that now it's over. I'm a little sad, but this is how it goes. You spend all this time on the game, and then it's like, boom, it has to end at some point. So thanks for coming along the journey, if you're watching. And sorry to disappoint if Storyteller wasn't the difficulty for you to watch, but that's what it is. I just want to get the story out there, do this game some justice. If you're looking for like deep strategies and stuff like that, I mean, just look them up. But honestly, it's a JRPG. Just do stuff that works. The game gives you an active restart, like you can retry, you restart the clock or whatever, and then you can start the battle all over knowing exactly what their weaknesses are. So that's very, that's very nice. They're telling you this game is very handholdy, so you should never be able to struggle with this at all. But yeah, Metaphor Refantazio, A fucking plus. A lot of hit or misses here and there with some of the choices, but it is what it is. That's just what you can do, and that's all I got. So, I wish I could give a deeper dive into it, but I'm not a reviewist, so I just want to get my initial thoughts over with, and really love the game. Luis, everything. I'm glad we're the king, and yeah, it all panned out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next one.